Hey, what is up, everybody? Long time no talk. Almost forgot how to speak into this thing for a minute. Say hello to me. Say hello, my little friends. Hey, wow, there was a huge delay in that. Hey, Dorn, how's it going? Dorn is back. I'm doing good. Hold on, guys. Let me clean these up. Yeah, hey, Walt, how's it going? I don't know why I said that. I thought it was kind of dumb. Hey, Philip from Fort Lauderdale. One of my not so little friends. I'm not so little either, so I got you there. Howdy, Tim. How's it going? Hey, Delroy. That's a new name to me. Pretty cool. Nice to see you. Y'all want to see something cool? Can you guys see me? What do you think about that? Huh? Going blind. I got some glasses. What do you think about that? I think this is the first time I've ever worn glasses on camera. I can't. Do I look smarter? I mean, that's the whole point, right? Hey, Tracy, how's it going? Good to see you. Hey, David, you guys aren't seeing my picture? Oh, it's lagging. It's a sure sign of my advancing age. Yes, I think you're right. I think you're right. I need spectacles now. Hey, you know what though? I made it to 50. How about that? I made it to 50 without glasses. So, all right, guys, we are going to get started here real soon. Just waiting for everybody to hop on. Wow, there are going to be a lot of people on here today. This is exciting. This is really exciting. I've been planning this. I probably should save this for the intro or whatever, but I'll say it now. Um, I have been saving this date this week since January, probably February. I knew this was coming down, and so I'm really excited about it today. You guys are going to be hearing from a couple of good friends of mine that you may or may not have heard of. I know some of you will have heard of one of them because he's been around in some of the things that I've been doing this year. Um, but yeah, these guys are the real deal, so I'm really excited to bring them on today. And you guys are going to learn a lot of really cool stuff, and you're going to be impressed. Trust me. Trust me. All right, who else is on? Hey, Greg. Hey, Yogesh. How's it going? David says, I'm 77 with 2020. Wow, that's great, man. I don't know anyone at that age, because they'd say you start losing it at 40, right? And so I'm grateful that I made it to 50. I mean, I can see good far away. I just can't read up close anymore. I think that's pretty normal, right? I don't know what that's called. Because right now, like looking at this, it's kind of blurry, everything out in front of me. But when I get real close, I can see things well. I don't know. I got these, and then I got oh, I had another pair too. I was going to get you guys to this. Oh, I don't have the other pair with me. I was going to put them both on and see what you guys like better because they're both the same. These are just like $5 glasses from Walgreens or something. But LASIK, except for reading, it's called presbyopia. Hmm. I'll have to look that up. Never heard of it. I don't know if it's correctable or not. I would like to get it corrected though if it is. Kandinsky. What's Kandinsky? Me? No, it isn't. I didn't think so. Thanks, Dorn. I'll look that up. Oh, yeah, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I forgot that was my Kandinsky. I was like, what is it? I thought we were talking about my eyes. Yeah, I got that at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. I actually bought a whole bunch of paintings. Have you guys have ever been there before? I'm not a, I'm not real big into art or anything like that, but it was fantastic. I mean, I learned a lot and it was really cool. I bought like 7 or 8 of these prints. You know, they're not that expensive either. I think they were between 40 and 80 bucks each or something like that. They're just prints. But getting them framed will cost you a couple hundred each. I learned that. Framing them is expensive. Buying them is cheap. But you got to get them framed if you're going to hang them up. So, oh, cool. Stevenson people out of Kandinsky there too. Yeah, very cool. Right on. Yeah, I hung that back behind me probably around 6 or 7 months ago. I used to be on that wall over there. And then I thought I needed something behind me because I look so plain on these webinars. Michael's framing coupons. I'll have to remember that. I'll have to get me some of those next time I go to New York and get some new stuff. Philip says, my uncle Save a Buck used to buy his glasses at Walmart too. He was a cheap bastard. Hey, doesn't make me a cheap bastard because I buy my glasses at Walmart. It makes me frugal. But I do need to go probably to the doctor and see what they can get done for me. One of my stepdaughters works for an optometrist, so trying to get her get me scheduled in. All right, guys, we're exactly 8 minutes past the hour, and I believe we are about to get started. I see the ticker slowing down a little bit, but some people are going to be late as usual, and that's just how it goes. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go fill this water real quick. I'll be right back. I forgot I left my headphones on when I left the room. Sometimes it messes everything up when I come back. You guys still hear me? Yes, good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. What is what, Brenda? Oh, and by the way, oh, you know, I'll save it. I'll save it. SEO master wearing Walgreens glasses. I'm quitting. Exactly. Oh, it buzzed up pretty bad probably when I left the room. Sorry about that. Yeeks. Forgot. When I leave my headphones on, those USB ones, you know, and I don't know. Radio interference. Okay, hopefully everything's cool now. Yeah, it's gone. Oh, Brenda was asking about the buzzing sound. Sorry, forgot. I get yelled at a lot when I'm in meetings with my dev team. I come back and they're like screaming at me because my headphones are blowing up their meeting. Always forget. All right, guys, let's get the show on the road. You guys ready? Yeah. I'm gonna do something else real quick here. I'm gonna get a mic check from David and Michael. So David, can you say hello to me real quick?
Hey, how's it going?
All right, I hear you, Michael.
Yes, sir.
All right, you guys are coming in loud and clear. That's really cool. David, I'm gonna pass you the presentation screen. Do you have a splash screen or something ready to go?
I can share. I've got the presentation, the first screen on it. Yeah, I can share right away as soon as you pass it to me.
I am going to make you presenter. I want something else besides my big head, my giant. There's my giant head.
Am I showing my screen?
You are.
Okay. I'll join you there.
Hey, Michael, there you are. Cool. David, are you dressed?
Let's see. Hold on. I can set up the webcam. Let me see if I can get this set up.
Yeah, it'd be nice to.
Yeah.
See your face.
Thought it was ready, but it fell down. Let's see here. Well, it's gonna have to look a little bit awkward.
Did one of you guys already push record?
What's that?
Never mind. Someone else already started the recording. Go ahead.
Well, it was not letting me share my webcam for some reason, but maybe it'll pop back up here in a second. I'll go ahead and get started if everybody's ready.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? Todd Spears here. Welcome back to another Supremacy Digital Project Supremacy webinar, whatever you want to call it. Thanks for joining us. I've got a really great presentation for you guys today. Two of my good friends, Michael and David, are going to be joining us. You can see Michael on the screen next to me. David is having a little bit of a webcam issue right now, but maybe he will pop up here in a second. I'm sure there'll be some photos on here in the slides presentation. He kind of looks like the guy on the screen now, so you can't miss him. Oh, there's David right there. Hey, how's it going?
I'm having trouble with the webcam. Hey, what's up?
There he is. All right, guys. There's David. So also, just so you guys know, Herc isn't joining us today. He is actually out for the next 5 days or so on a big Canadian golfing adventure. He does this annually. Normally it's done in June, but they pushed it back due to COVID. So he's gone until next Tuesday. But so this has been scheduled. This is something that I've been planning to do for many months now. And we're finally here, and I'm so excited to introduce you guys to David and Michael. Now, a lot of you may not know David and Michael that well. I mean, you may have run across them here and there because they've been in the industry for quite a while, but they're actually, you know, not as much marketers as they are agency owners and doing that kind of thing. So, but what we're going to go over today is these guys have developed processes and systems on how they are actually building and scaling and fulfilling and selling $1 million agencies. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that is super exciting. I mean, I personally have sold a company as well for millions of dollars, and that's a lot of fun. A little bit stressful going through the process and getting your ass kicked for all the numbers and all this. I remember when I did it. This was back in 2003. I built a mortgage lead company, and some of you probably know my history, but I'll give it to you real quick. I started it in '99, and I sold it in 2003, at the end of 2003, almost 2004. So I ran it for about 5 years. We were doing about $1 million a year in profit. So it was a lot of fun. But when it came time to sell it, I mean, I really didn't know what I was doing as far as keeping track of everything. I know I had a bank account with a lot of numbers and some good software and a lot of stats, and I knew what was going on, right? But when these suits sit you down at a table, and I'll never forget, I flew all the way to Denver and got in a room in a meeting in this big round table room with 9 other guys in suits. And here I am, 29 years old, about to pee my pants basically, and getting grilled by this one guy in particular. I mean, he was on my ass in front of everybody, poking holes in every single thing that I was saying, and this made me super nervous. And I really wasn't prepared. I really did not know what I was doing, to be honest, or how I was going to do it. I had a broker that he struck a meeting. I went up there, man, we got stuck in a room, and I was very nervous and very anxious, and the guy just grilled me, and I didn't really have any good answers, to be honest. I really didn't. I mean, I'm sure I was red-faced and sweating and looked like a total amateur. And eventually, the actual owner of the company kind of saw all this, you know, going on, and he luckily, thankfully, he shut the guy down and just said, hey, look, you know, this kid just built a badass business. It's making a lot of money. It's got what we need. What's the problem? And I was like, yeah, exactly what he said. You know, I can prove it in my own way, but it's not what you know, corporate gents really want to see. So it was difficult for me, but it closed. They closed the deal. Ended up buying the company probably about another month later. That same guy that grilled my ass actually flew to Dallas, came to my home office, and actually sat down with me, and I just kind of showed him, you know, all the ins and outs and things. And then eventually he was impressed, and reported back to his boss that everything was a go. But it was nerve-wracking. So the point of that is that's one of the things that this is going to be about today. And Michael and David, Michael has been in the digital marketing world since 1999. I'll let him share his complete story with you in a minute. David, I've known for probably around 2010 or so, or 11 or 12, when he quit his old job and moved into the digital marketing space. And I remember when he was just coming up and just a fresh young dude, and I was a coach in one of the groups that we were in. And I got to meet him at an event, and we sat down and we had lunch and we talked, and he just had a lot of fire and a lot of passion, and really smart. David is probably one of the smartest guys I know. He's actually a friend of mine. He lives right up the street from me. We've gone out and had lunch. I get to drive his Tesla every now and then. I did one time, actually.
Although now knowing about your vision, maybe I shouldn't have let you drive it.
Right, it's got autopilot though. I wasn't even, I had my eyes closed the whole time, so.
Wait, what?
Exactly.
Note to everyone out there, don't let Todd drive your car.
That's right, I can't see. But yeah, so these two guys, know what they're talking about when it comes to building, scaling, and selling. Michael, in particular, has already done this. He's been in the digital marketing space, like I said, since '99. He's also sold a digital marketing agency for a couple $1 million. He's in the process of selling another one. So these are two guys that I know you guys are probably not that familiar with, because like I said, they're not out there marketing products and services. This is just something that they've created to help other marketers and agencies like yourself to understand how they've done it, what they did, how all the documentation works. When you go to sell something, and it's really important. I mean, my story should be a grave warning that if you don't have all your ducks in a row, they can just say, you know what, this is too disorganized and forget it. And I almost happened to me. Luckily, they were cool and just believed in me, and they took the deal. But Michael has a lot of experience and understanding on all of those facets that I'm telling you about, and David does as well. David also runs an amazing agency. Like I said, he started back in 2010-ish, 11-ish, I can't remember exactly, but a long time ago. I've watched him over the years come up, and I've watched him build and grow. He ranks #1 for Dallas SEO. He gets a lot of leads. He knows SEO, he knows how to fulfill, and he knows how to close sales as well. So I hope I did that intro a lot of justice. I'm just really excited to finally get these guys on here and expose them to you all, and in hopes that you can learn from them and they can help you grow, build, and sell your own digital marketing agency. Because I think that's what we're all here. I mean, the end game to all of us, included, is eventually you want to build a huge asset that you can sell, and then maybe move on. And I'm getting a little older in my life as well, so it's definitely on the forefront of my mind over the next 10 years. Is definitely selling another big company like that. So without further ado, I guess I will turn it over to David, and I'm going to shut off my video camera here just a minute so we don't get too preoccupied with the video, so we can focus on the presentation. But David and Michael, I will let you guys take it away.
Well, thanks for that, Todd. I appreciate those kind words. And if you guys can all see my screen, I want to point out a couple things that I've put on this first slide that I did with intention. I do things very intentionally. So it's a sellable business. That doesn't necessarily mean that you sell it. It means that it's sellable. And a sellable business is going to be much more fun to run. It's profitable, it's systematized, and it allows you a lot more flexibility. So it's and when you get to that point, your business is valuable to other businesses. So to me personally, it's not just about selling for 7 figures. If I have a business that's making $500,000 a year in profit that I can put in my pocket with very little work, that actually grows itself and works itself, that is a winning state by itself, in my opinion. But also, I want to talk about things that work now and that will work after the COVID pandemic. We don't know how long this is going to be here. I mean, at least through the end of the year, we're going to be dealing with this, and potentially much longer. So you need to take it into account, but I don't ever want to recommend anything that's like selling toilet paper, which, yeah, maybe the last couple of months you could have hoarded and sold or created a toilet paper company, but then, you know, a year or two down the line, you don't really have a business anymore, or it's not nearly as fruitful as it could be now. There are still lots of businesses, I will say this, that are looking to grow their business and invest in their business right now, period. There are some businesses that are having issues, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes about like what we're hearing from business owners. So what we want is a business that's sellable and that works now and after the COVID pandemic. And I think an SEO agency is a great fit for this. This is personally what has made me money, and personally what I can speak the most towards actually being successful and understanding the principles, the fundamental principles of what enables us to work as fast as possible and with as little wasted effort as possible. All right, so let's move in. When we talk about Michael real quick, we did mention him a little bit. You got here this.
David, are you still there? Sounds like you cut out there for a minute. Let's do a quick audio check real quick. Put a one in if you guys can hear me.
You're fine. You're
All
fine.
Right, so just David cut out on us. That's unfortunate because he has all the slides. So you're gonna be looking at me real quick, but I'll just give you the rundown of myself. I was in the Navy, and after I got out of the Navy, I was down there in Southern California and got into doing sales. And that's how I started my SEO career because the company I worked for wanted to jump into online marketing, and they went to the salespeople. And they said, who wants to learn it? I raised my hand. I asked one simple question that changed the trajectory of my life. And it was basically this: can I keep the leads? And they said yes. And I got really, really good at it. Over the next 4 years for that company and a couple other companies, I ended up doing over $100 million in sales personally. And then in 2003, I decided to start my own agency, armed with the knowledge that I knew I could get the leads. I knew I could get the traffic for myself or anybody else. So I went out there and started doing it. I just got a text from David. His computer crashed, so hopefully he'll be able to join us soon. We'll see, because I don't actually have this presentation here. Anyway, that same agency that I started in 2003, I then later sold for a couple $1 million back in 2012. After my little hiatus, I had a non-compete there for a couple years, in which time I actually partnered with another investor, and we went around looking for companies to invest in. I found one resounding problem is the brick and mortar businesses just do not have any digital marketing chops at all. And still in 2012, as I'm still finding today, I still don't, they still did not know how to get traffic and leads online reliably. And yes, that was before Panda. In fact, I sold it right before the first Panda update came out. And so I actually had to go back and do some consulting for the business that I sold, just so they could go through all the different recovery and all that kind of stuff with it. Anyway, one of my favorite success stories out of that time was I did some SEO work for a publication, and they were already getting 10, 20,000 visitors on a monthly basis, and I was able in a 12-month period of time to increase their traffic over 1,100%. So that was pretty amazing. Since I'm kind of stuck on this slide, I'm really not sure what to do here. Todd, any ideas? Because I can't really advance it to anything else.
Yeah, David is on his way back. He's logging in right now, so he should be back any second now. But
Okay.
you know, Michael, you know, just I'm actually, it was kind of, you know, I kind of like that. It's kind of good timing there, because I really wanted people to really, you know, hear your story and hear it from you, and understand exactly where you came from, and you know, all the successes that you've had in the digital marketing space. I know your story was pretty similar to mine. You know, I did the same thing. I generated a bunch of leads and ended up selling a very valuable asset, and you know, it's something that you did as well. So
I'm back.
and there's David. Perfect timing. All right, David. Well, we are ready for you to continue the show.
So, Michael, are you running this on your computer?
I am not, no.
Oh, huh. Let's see. So, screen.
Are you still presenter?
I'm not presenter, let's say change presenter, and let me make it, oh, here we go.
Yeah, you're
I'm fixing
back
it.
to presenter.
Okay, so sorry about that. I'm in the process of a move, and I think my wife and kids, my wife slid my computer across the ground to move it when people were coming, and so I'm gonna put it in this mode. It's not quite as big, but hopefully it still looks good for you guys. But I think it taxes my, I think they damaged my power supply. I think it taxes my power supply a little bit less to do it this way. So that's, I'm gonna leave it like this and let me know if it's an issue.
You're black. The whole screen's black.
I'm black. Okay, let's try this again.
There you are. You're back.
You see it? Okay.
Yep. Your whole.
Okay, I'll move on and I'll talk about myself. Hopefully that was enlightening and I didn't miss anything major about Michael. But I'm a computer geek, always have been. I built my own computers in high school. I did math and science, stuff like that. It was definitely my focus, just kind of what naturally worked for me. I did work as an industrial engineer for 6.5 years. I have a master's degree in industrial engineering and I worked at Texas Instruments, and industrial engineer is sort of like an efficiency engineer, where I'm very focused on systems and like the semiconductor factories that make the chips that go into like your phones and stuff. They are these giant rooms that are like 10 football fields in space-ish, with about $1 billion to $10 billion worth of tools, like these massive tools that are size of like trucks and stuff. And then basically the material goes through thousands of steps. So my history is in analyzing that data, massive amounts of data, and understanding efficiency and productivity. And not so much productivity is just like how things flow through things. And this is a critical, I think this is a very useful thing for business, and it's going to be a centerpiece that you'll see throughout this presentation. I do have, these are my beautiful kids and my wife. So actually I quit my job in 2012 to put to what Todd said before. He's actually kind of right and kind of wrong. I actually started in 2009, but on the side, and then I quit my job in 2012. I wasn't making that much money, but I had some savings, and I ran out of money. My wife fortunately has a reasonable job, and so we'd fire a nanny, and for about the first 3 months of 2013, I was the nanny, and I only worked part-time to get my business, the final steps off the ground. And then about April-ish of 2013, it really started to hit off, and basically since then, pretty much month after month, there's been less than a handful of months since mid-2013 where I've not had at least a 5-figure month. And the vast majority of that then and now is client SEO, doing SEO for clients. I did start off trying to be more of a broad digital marketing service provider, so provide the broad range of services. That didn't work very well, and it wasn't until I narrowed my focus to SEO that really things started to go off within less than 6 months after I decided to make that, probably closer to 5. I started making 10 figures a month with my agency, and as much as 50,000 a month. And I have a lot of freedom, even though you might think clients are a pain in the ass. I keep them in line. I've trained them, and they take very little time. And if they take a lot of time, then I fire them. So because they're not profitable if they're trying to bleed you out of your time all the time. That's not really how I want to live, and I get to make that choice. So yeah, feel free to let me know if you have any more, if you have any questions about that. We'll move on. Okay, so one important point that I want to make that I think is really simple, that you could follow, that will help you basically forever in your life or in your business, especially in business, is to have a builder's mindset. And when you have a builder's mindset, this is what I think of for myself. I think I'm Bob the Builder, basically. And by doing this, I feel like my success is basically inevitable. And no matter what, unless I'm hit by a bus or some really crazy circumstance happens, basically, I'm going to keep getting more and more successful. And since I quit my day job, every year I've made more money than the year before, except for 1 year. So after 7 out of 8 and I'm going to do that again this year. So let's say 8 out of 9 times I've improved just on a year-over-year basis. And there's really 3 parts to build that you need to build, and that's it. More like 3 categories of things that you need to focus on. And as long as you're doing even one or more of even one of these things, you should be fine. But it's best to kind of mix all of them in at some point. Building your understanding, building your assets, and building your skills. And so with this webinar, I hope to be able to do at least number 1 and give you some guidance on number 3 and a little bit of guidance and point you in the right direction for number 2. Okay, let's talk about real quick what we're hearing from business owners. And I want to get Michael's thoughts on this once I give kind of what I'm hearing, which is basically that, like, I've actually upgraded a client. I've signed a new big client for $3,900 a month. There are people out there still buying for and paying for services to grow their business. There are still businesses out there doing that. There are some businesses that cannot do that. And really what I'm seeing is the difference is better businesses that are run well and have been profitable for any significant period of time are generally doing good. And they understand that they can't stop marketing. They can't stop working on their building the business. In fact, even the best customers, the best clients are going to look at it and look at the situation and think, how can I beat out my competitors? How can I take advantage of their weakness and improve my position? And so this, like, the really small companies tend to not do so well. I don't really like serving super big companies, but companies that have been around a while and again have been making money are still investing money. Is this what you're hearing, Michael?
Yes, and just for some context, everyone, I'm on sales calls 5 days a week, and I take anywhere from 3 to 4 sales calls a day. So I'm talking to new business owners every single week, and just to kind of parrot a little bit what Dave was saying here. The smaller the business, the more difficult time they're having there, right? So if they weren't really set up with some cash in the bank and having to make some adjustments here with all the stuff that's going on with COVID, then a lot of them are in pretty bad shape, right? Unless they're able to take out some of these loans and some of the money that the government's been giving out, and even then they're probably still doing some type of layoff. The bigger companies are generally doing better. Because they tend to be they tend to be well managed, and they have a nest egg, and they're still going after the marketing dollars. And I'll give you kind of 2 quick examples of that, right? So if you're running into people that are a single, because we do a lot with home servicing contractors, right? So together, David and I have a roofing SEO company, and then I also have another company that specializes with electricians. If they are a single person business where there's just one truck that they're going out there, most of them are having a hard time. Now, the guys that are not are the ones that are running 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 trucks, 20 trucks. Those people are just fine, right? And in fact, one of the business owners I talked to was upset that he couldn't talk himself into actually taking advantage of my offer, only because he couldn't get enough people to do the work, because most of them were wanting to stay home right now. So it's a very, very different mindset right now on doing stuff. They're definitely spending money right now, and the ones that are spending money are the better clients for you long term anyway, because they spend a lot more dollars.
Yep. So don't fall for, well, there's not really any companies out there spending money. There are people out there with money. The economy can't stop. It's not going to stop. And you want to position yourself to move forward. And just likewise, there's other businesses, good businesses that are out there thinking the same thing.
Actually, one more thing before we go on to this one. Later on, I'm going to actually let you guys know the biggest SEO client I had was at $15,000 a month, right? And I'm going to let you know the strategy that I used to get this person to approach me, and with a week of meeting me, gave me a $15,000 check, right? So if you guys want to hear that strategy, stick around to the end, and I'll give it to you before we finish today.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, so I want to talk about, this is not just an agency trap, but it's a general business trap, but let's specifically the agency. I think this is really, really common. I fell into this trap, and I think that this is still a trap that a lot of people fall in, because it's one of those things that your first instinct, what your brain's initial analysis of the situation is going to miss a lot of things. It's going to make the incorrect decision. And the only way around it really is, or the best way around it that I've found, is to understand the trap and understand the principles behind why it's a trap. And then you can move forward with a much more efficient, much more scalable, much more systematizable, much easier to run, much more profitable business. And that's all the things that you want, and they all build on each other. Okay, the trap is broad services. So, and by that, I mean to offer all the different services out there, not just SEO, but all the social media marketing, anything you could think of. It's not that you can't build a business like that. There are plenty of other businesses that do build those. Those just take longer, are more expensive, are more work, and are harder to build, and they're less profitable. Their gross and their net profits are way less. And what your brain is going to tell you when someone asks you to do something that, yeah, I guess you could do it, but it's not really part of your core business, your brain's going to tell you, well, all I got to do is do that. It's kind of like free money, but it's not, I promise you. And I'm going to cover this from several different angles. There's a ton of hidden costs in doing additional services that are not core to your business. And I've also had a lot of experience myself and talked to a lot of people who provided the wide range of services, and SEO is by far and away the most profitable to your agency. You don't need a ton of clients to build a business that is great and makes a crap load of money to the point to where you can sell it or just cash the checks. And so, when you go broad, there's you can see, I think I've got this in multiple slides. You see this last one. It's something I call connective tissue costs. When you have different parts, different branches of your systems in your business, putting those together and integrating those has a cost. And with each level, with each branch that you go out, it builds on itself, because you have to bridge different parts of your business. Not just one part bridges to the other, it's one part bridges to the other 5 parts, and so they all have to connect together. So with each additional part of your business, it makes it exponentially more complex. Therefore, it makes the costs to build it and sell it more, just much higher. And it makes your profits lower. Hopefully you can see where I'm going with this. Also, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. I can fix a guy's computer. If he calls me up and asks me for that, I'm not going to do it. I can go mow his lawn. Do I want to mow his lawn? No, I don't want to mow his lawn. Just because he'll pay me, just because I can do it. He's offered me, he said, here's $200, here's $500. I don't even want to mow your lawn for $500. You might say that I'm crazy, and it's like I'm valuing myself too highly. But the point here is, with this whole presentation, is to pick a path that you're going to go to with an endpoint, and anything that doesn't move you forward on that endpoint is generally bad. Now, I understand that there are some times where you got to pay the rent, and so you got to take some things, but understanding the true costs better is going to really help you out to knowing this is not really where you want to go. I know someone who was like, hey, some client offered me $2,400 to fly a drone around and do all, I don't even really remember all this stuff, but and I was kind of like, well, I mean, yeah, that's $2,400. He didn't really need the money, and it's taking him from an end goal. And so I want you to think, the more you narrow your focus, the more powerful you're going to be. The more your energy, your life force is going to give back to you when you invest it. The other part of the trap, it's kind of a 2-part trap, and this one is even more common and a little bit harder to identify at first, but I think once I go through the arguments, you'll agree with me that this is definitely part of the trap as well. It's being broad with your niches as well. So you provide all services. There's these agencies that I call all agencies. They serve all niches, and they provide all the digital marketing services. I know a guy who owns one like this. He has to have a massive team. It took him for many years to build this agency, and he works his butt off all the time, and his profit margin is super low. Yeah, he's got a pretty solid business at this point, but I think there could have been way less hassle doing it the way that I'm gonna suggest. And even me, when I first got started, I did a niche, a broad niche, and a narrowed services business, Dallas SEO Geek. So I focused on just SEO, but I did service all niches. And if I had to start it all over, I think I would have made 5 to 10 to 20 times as much money with a lot less work if I had done a niche SEO instead. which is what Michael and I have done. We've started an agency together to focus on this just this year. So just think about, if you know anything about SEO, imagine doing keyword research for the same.
I think we lost David again. Okay, so what he's talking about here on this slide is really, when it comes down to it, is like when you're doing the broad niches, even if you're going to do like keyword research, for example, and you're doing it for just a local area, he does it in Dallas. Every time you take on a new vertical, you have to go through that and do that keyword research all over again. When you're doing it in one vertical, or just one niche, then you only have to do it a couple times, and then after that time, you have a pretty good system, because you have a pretty good idea of what keywords your clients are going to need to rank for to actually drive in the volume of what they need. Whether it's the phone calls or applications or people visiting the website, whatever their business model is, going out and doing it that way. So the other part is you're also going to get really good at the jargon. So depending on the vertical that you're in, they're going to reference their clients as clients or customers, right? So for example, a lawyer is going to be a client, a doctor is going to be a patient, a roofer is going to be a customer. So even learning the jargon and the lingo, so you can talk to them like you are part of their industry, goes a long way to building trust. And this is really, if you can take away one thing from this, then the trust angle is going to be the most important thing that you want to take away from, because that's going to build in pretty much everything that you want to do. As you again go through and show people that you are competent in what you're doing, then that will bring you more qualified customers, because the best people in that niche are going to want to work with you. And then that last part there, with the connected cells and service tissue, it's a lot easier teaching people and even team building when it comes down to it. If you have multiple services and you are the guy that does all the sales in your agency, once you go to bring on another salesperson to try and grow that agency and get you out of that sales spot, unless you really love sales, yeah, it's going to be a very difficult challenge for you, because then they have to learn all those different products and services that you offer versus just one. So the time to train somebody who comes on brand new is going to be a lot less. The time to get them profitable for you as a business owner is going to be a lot less when they have just one singular focus on everything. So I think, let's see. Let me see if I can reach out to David again. And I'm just assuming that you guys can still hear me on this as I took over here. Can I get a 1 in there? Or actually, no, let's do a 2 this time, if you guys can still hear me. Okay, I'm getting into 2s coming through there. I appreciate that. Good. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if I can actually if I can find the PowerPoint here and get that going. Give me just a second, everybody. I'm going to see if I can actually find it on my side so I can take over and be the presenter here. So if we do lose David again, then we'll be able to do that. Give me just 1 second if you don't mind. And by the way, if you guys have questions, we're going to stick around and as long as we need to answer any of the questions that you guys have. So go ahead and put that in the chat box, any questions that you have, and we'll go ahead and at the end here, we'll make sure that we answer all these questions. So we do have some time for Q&A at the end. So let's see. Here we go. That is not one. Okay.
you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm so sorry. Man, this is embarrassing. My computer is just not cooperating today. Normally doesn't have a problem. Maybe what we can do, let's see, change. Michael, I'm gonna make you the presenter. Maybe this will reduce the effects of the negative things. And if you can open the PowerPoint presentation.
I'm looking for that. I think I just found it.
Okay.
And
I think I need to, I actually already bought a power supply. I need to replace it, and it can't handle like energy spikes.
okay.
So if you
Are
want
you
to,
guys able to see my screen?
yes, we can see your screen. I don't know if you want to maximize, put it in presentation mode. And
Yep.
wait, this is actually, I need to send you an update. Close this one. I'm going to send you an updated
Okay.
one. Sorry.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
See all my stuff on here.
There's a slightly updated one. There we go. Okay. That one's the most up to date. Todd, you still there?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
here.
Sorry about that. This is I think we'll be able to make it through, hopefully, without my computer being a jerk. Trying to close everything possible out.
And we are here. Let's see.
Oh, there we go. Okay. If you want to go to full screen, we're good.
Oh, no, this is passing around the other way. So
I'll go ahead and I can start on the next thing. So, and you can kind of see it over to the left if you want to click on it. Yeah. So things are not always as they seem, but you can, I think the one master decision if I were to recommend anything, the single kind of starting point for building a really solid, super scalable, super streamlined business is to make the commitment to trying out and laser focusing on niche and SEO. One niche with just SEO. And there are a lot of issues that you can come up with it when you think about trying to build this type of business, but trust me that they can be worked out with a much lower cost than it takes than the additional cost from trying to broaden the scope of your business. And you can build a very successful 7-figure per year or sellable business with just one niche and just SEO. Or your brain is going to tell you that you're missing out, and I promise you, you're not. As long as you do your due diligence. Your systems building is way less. Opportunity cost is something that you really need to think about if you're not aware of that concept. Go ahead and look it up. It's an economic principle that is extremely useful in a lot of situations. And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a foundation that is scalable and sellable. Next. So I want to do a little bit of math here to kind of prove this to you, because you might be thinking, well, but doesn't that really limit the amount of the pool of potential clients that I could get? Am I missing out on like, is there not going to be enough clients out there for me to really build a big business? But I'm telling you that there's plenty. And if you look at, there's over 1,000 cities in the US with 35,000 population. Envision like a plumber. And if you get 100 clients at $1,500 a month, that's $150,000 per month. With the super streamlined business, you should be able to get at least a 50% net profit margin for about $1 million per year profit. And you can actually get better. I think mine usually is more like 60%. And I think once you get your systems down really well, I think you could even go higher. So if you imagine a 1 million per year net profit, or what like a business person would call EBITDA, and plus a streamlined and well-documented sales and service systems, you can easily sell this agency for $5 to $10 million, or you can just sit on it and cash the checks. So yeah, go ahead and move on, Michael.
I like cashing the checks.
Okay, so sorry, my kids. I want you to imagine like what it would be like if you had an inevitable 7-figure exit strategy. So by inevitable, I mean this is a really carefully selected business structure that has an end goal in mind, has a pot at the end of the rainbow. And if you work it, you will inevitably be successful with it. If you keep building, it will enable you to quit your job, to have complete freedom. And I'm happy to go into work every day. I don't really, you don't have to commute and don't really worry about money nearly as much, and make way more than I ever could as an engineer. And I can rank websites consistently. So all these things, I think we can help you with. Go ahead, go to next. So a lot of complaints I get about SEO clients, that clients are annoying, that they're a pain in the ass, maybe they ask for too much, they're stupid, they're rude, and they're a lot of work. And that is true if you don't train them correctly, you don't set up your systems properly, and you're the one that has to deal with them. Ideally, pretty quickly, you want to build a system to where you're not actually the client-facing person. Your business doesn't depend on your relationship, your personal relationship with your clients. So even if they are a little bit annoying, and because you can't train out everything, then you still aren't the one that has to deal with them. So I want you to, that is not a reason not to do client as a business.
Yeah, it's just another system that you develop and build.
Yep. Next. Okay, so there's two critical keys that I want to talk about. The first critical key is building a reliable and scalable outbound sales system. This is what has enabled a lot of different companies to go from 0 to $100 million in like 5 years or so, sometimes less, okay? Is having an outbound system where they can control, they can pour gasoline on it when they make a sale, they can put that money back in to keep building their sales system, and it's being outbound, reaching out to people, typically with cold calling, but there's a bunch of different ways. Other people do it with a cold email, but a lot of the people still pick up the phone. So next slide, I want to give you an example of this. There's a company called Reach Local that you may have heard of them before. They sold for $156 million in 2016. And what basically their business model was to sell crappy digital marketing services, and they were crap and they were expensive, with these just massive teams of sales teams. Now, number one, you won't need to build nearly as big of a team because your business will be much more scalable and better structured. And number two, I don't want to ever recommend somebody sell crappy services. I don't want to provide crappy services. I think you can do this when you do this, it becomes easier to provide good quality services. Okay, and they have massive team requirements. But the principle behind setting up an outbound sales system has been proven many times over. This is not the only example of this. There's other companies who've done very similar things as well. Next. Okay, so the other critical part is going to be disciplined and aggressive with what I would call your process documentation. And so process documentation is like a higher level category, not that's more important, but that it's just SOPs, checklists are subcategories of what I would call process documentation. So process documentation is all of the tasks. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. All of the things that you have done in your business, will do, plan on doing. It includes all of your actions now, in the future, and in the past. And so, I think that really being good about working on this and making this a core focus of your business in terms of building this out, making this part of your team focus to build this stuff over and over and over again. Every day I'm building my process documentation for my business. This is Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, this was the most valuable part of your business when you sold, your process documentation was when you sold for $2 million.
You're correct. So that's ultimately the reason I was able to get an increase, a bump on the asking price, was because of the process documentation that I had in place. And then it's also the same reason why I was approached again to buy my agency, was because of the process documentation that I had, and they were able to experience it as a customer. And then when we started talking about it later on, and I was able to show them some of the documentation that I had in place, that's when they made the offer. So this part is like the unsung hero of what the difference between you getting $100,000, $200,000 for your business, or getting $1 million or $2 million for your business, or more.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. So there's, when you do your process documentation really well and you narrow your focus when you have a niche SEO agency, it just enables for much faster scaling. Again, I'm kind of repeating myself here, but there's different contexts. Your business is more valuable. It becomes easier to build your team. Your team can sell better and they can service better. And all these things kind of work together. When I was working for Texas Instruments, their company is about 100 years old. So you think about what really makes them, they're like a 20 or $30 billion company. What really makes them valuable? And is it the people? No, because they've been around a long time. Do they have assets? Yes, they have assets like intellectual property and actual property. But when I look back at when I was working for them, they had tons of processes and the processes were still not perfect. There's always room for improvement, but that was a huge reason why they were valuable as well in there. So go to the next one. Okay, this is kind of my own little crusade about helping the world basically be more productive and more efficient. It's kind of a passion of mine, and I'm a crusader for one of the biggest things out there are hidden costs. And this is often what it looks like when you are trying to build something out or you're taking on a new job. The actual costs are much greater than you think. Especially if it's taking you if it's not helping you on your ultimate journey, your ultimate destination in terms of building a streamlined, scalable, systematized niche SEO agency. There are so many additional costs. This is why it's not something that you should do, okay? This is why you should try to stay focused if you can. If you can afford to, at all, the faster you can get this set up and running, the faster you can be super profitable. And so just be aware, it's a little bit outside the scope of this. I could talk for hours on like the different hidden costs and kind of the implications and the systems in there, but just try to be aware that the more you kind of, distill your focus, the less powerful you are. So kind of another way of putting that. Okay, next slide. So, well, I just want to ask you real quick, is this time well spent, and can we offer you something that could help you enact this and put this into work, into your life and your business much faster than just what you've gotten so far? Let's see. We have questions. Let's see. Find the questions.
So while people are noodling on that, I promised a while back that I would tell you on how I got that $15,000 SEO client. So would you guys like to hear that? If you do put like 15 in on the chat, and let's see if we can get a few people to do that, and I'll go ahead and do that now. I'm seeing that 15. I'm seeing those 15s coming through. So all right. Now, the thing about scaling a business is a lot of times you need to have more than one way that you give clients. So one of the ways that I got clients, and believe it or not, just from me doing this a few years back, I still get clients off of this, right? From people who have seen me speak. So I used to go around and speak and present to large groups of people, large and small, all over the place. So if you've ever heard of events like Bar Camp or Ignite or TEDx, I would go and speak at these events, but I also spoke at things like SCORE and meetups of all sizes and business groups of all sizes. Now, right now, it's not very feasible to go out and speak, right? But however, all those organizations are looking for qualified marketing professionals to give webinars. So if you are niched down in a specific industry, going and reaching somebody across the country to do a webinar, I was getting shut down left and right 5 years ago, but now they're practically begging for your expertise. Get out there in front of people. It's all about trust, right? And these organizations spend a lot of time building trust with their patrons, and then you're going to go in there as a marketing advisor and give them good information, and they will come up to you. So if there's a room of 80 people, you're going to have 8, 10, 20 people come up to you after or reach out to you, asking you about what you do if you present it properly. You have SEO, you can generate leads via SEO. You can, I'm assuming your skill set allows you to also generate phone calls via SEO. People want people these businesses are looking for leads, they're looking for phone calls. And so this is how you would be able to go out there and do it. And in fact, if you put that offer anywhere around how to generate leads during like this crisis, this pandemic, this COVID side, then you're going to get a much higher response from the people that you reach out to. But seriously, like I said, SCORE was actually a really good place. Ignite, which was another event, but any of your local meetups that have anything to do with business or marketing, a lot of them have moved to online stuff and are looking for presenters. Obviously, if you don't want to show your face, you don't have to. You can do a webinar just like what we're doing today. You don't even have to get on camera. And so it's actually a lot easier to do this than it is to get in front of 800 people and speak, which I've done before as well. So that's my one tip for you. The smart people from here will actually go out there and start doing that to get some clients. That process goes very, very quickly once you have that trust.
Yeah, that's great, Michael. I like that. All right, so let's keep moving here. So you kind of have two options. You can take what we've taught here and kind of have a stab at it yourself. And this is very reasonable. You can go about doing this yourself, but there's a lot that Michael and I have learned. We can help you. There's places where you might get stuck that we are very aware of how to move through it. And there's also, if you can be mentored by us and coached by us, and we'll share all of our systems, all of our processes, every SEO technique that I've ever learned, that I've tested and it's worked for me, I share in what I'm about to share with you. I guess I'm used to share too many times. And really, when you buy the Operation SEO Agency Empire, this is version 2 of this, then you're investing in me and my family, and therefore I am invested in your success as well. So I ask that you consider that. If you're still with me right now on the replay or live, we still got a lot of people here. That's great. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So really, like a really reasonable question that I hear people ask is like, why do this? If you're making so much money and you're doing so great, why would you do this? Why would you sell this to other people and create competitors? So first of all, there's this guy named Jim Rohn over to the right, if you know who he is. If you don't know who he is, he's a personal development guy who has a lot of really good concepts on how to make yourself more valuable. And one of his principles is study, practice, teach. And I've been studying and practicing for a very long time, and I enjoy helping other people. Also, to the competitors idea, ultimately, like from a philosophical standpoint and from a very practical standpoint, I don't really think of anybody as being a competitor of mine, really ever. I don't think anybody can replicate me and be me and position themselves exactly as I'm positioned. But more to the point, there's plenty of business out there. If I had 100 people go out and pick the same niches and for the same SEO, all 100 people in the course or whatever, pick the same people, there would be a lot less stepping on the toes than you would think. And for me specifically, if you, in the extremely unlikely scenario that you were to actually like take a client from me, I would win either way, right? Because now I have a successful student as opposed to a sale, which in a lot of ways I actually prefer. And so it enables me to sell more. So yeah, I am doing this. This is an additional revenue stream for me, but clients, SEO is still where I make most of my money. I will make money from this, and I will ask for you to invest not just your time and energy, but your some money. I don't think it's outrageous. I think somebody else said it was peanuts by comparison to what I'm giving you, because I'm giving you every single thing that I do in my business right now to sell and to service SEO clients. Okay, next. Really, this first bullet is what OSAE I think can do for me. I'm going to call it OSAE from now on, so it's a little bit less of a mouthful. It's like a full blueprint for a streamlined, scalable, and sellable business. It's not just a blueprint. It's also checklists. It's also support. It's a little bit like a franchise. I'm going to go into this a little bit more, except without a brand. I'm not giving you a brand that already has brand recognition, but everything else that a franchisor would do for a franchisee, we're basically doing. We're providing systems, we're providing support, consultation, documentation, and kind of like a setup and a plan that would enable you to quit your day job to have a business that I think is pretty enjoyable. I'm very happy with my business right now. It makes good money, and I have a lot of freedom. And in this course, you get a lot of personal support from me and Michael. There is a members only Facebook group. It's pretty tight knit. If you ask a question there, you will definitely get answered. Go ahead. Next.
Yeah, well, and also on this, when we're looking at it, the most important job that you have as the business owner and entrepreneur is actually to build out the systems, right? So we're giving you a baseline and where you can start, and we've made a lot of mistakes getting there, and you're going to be able to take from that and create these systems that are going to be unique to you and your business. And then if you have questions on whether something's worked or not worked, you can always reach out to us, because we're only giving you what's worked, and we are documenting things that we've tried and haven't got to work yet.
Yeah. So this is what it looks like on the inside of the members area. This isn't everything, but these are all the modules on the left. On the right, you can see these big blue buttons that are a link to the OSAE members group, and then click for the to get the process documentation share. And there's a lot in here, and I don't want you to be overwhelmed by that, because one thing that a feedback point that I do get a lot is that it's well organized, and I'm proud of that, because that's very important to me. So that, let's say you have a burning need in your business right now, you can go in and you can find it and you can watch. These modules aren't like 3-hour webinars where you have to watch the whole thing to get everything in there. Most of the videos are between 3 and 10 minutes. There are a few that are maybe like 20. I think the longest is in the mid 20s, high 20s. And they're to the point and titled in about really main topic. And so you can get in and you can find it. Also later on, you can come back and look at them. And if you have an issue, you can go back and you can find what you're looking for. So this is the whole business from soup to nuts of what I run, how I run my business, how Michael runs his business, how we recommend anybody else runs their business. There's no secret in this. There's no like secret SEO technique that I have personally used and tested that I'm not sharing with you. There's no secret sales technique that I've used that I'm not sharing with you. Everything that I know, I'm doing my best, that I know and can confirm, I share with members of this course. Okay, next. Let's actually, okay, yeah. So this ad that I have here is kind of a funny ad to me on the right. I got this in the mail, and to me, this is a career, so a career in truck driving that in about 10 years, I think will be mostly non-existent due to autonomous cars. And so maybe there'll be some truck drivers left, but it'll be much less, maybe 90-95% less, and eventually almost zero. And you have to pay $4,600, and you have to spend 200 hours learning that. Okay, and then in order to be able to make $44,000 a year doing a job that I personally would not, maybe some people would love to do that, but I wouldn't want to do it. My college education, I'm pretty sure I paid, I try not to look, I don't really want to look at the number, but it was definitely over $100,000. And while I don't regret that, and it was valuable to me from a purely practical business related standpoint in terms of making money for my business, building a good profitable business, it wasn't nearly as, I don't think it's nearly as good of a deal as OSAE is, not even close. If you think about buying a franchise, like the cheapest franchise you can find is like $20,000. And McDonald's is $1 million to join the franchise. And really, what do they give you? They give you the brand. That's the one thing I'm not giving you. Everything else I'm giving you, the systems, the training, the business model, the support, all of that. And my goal is to have OSAE, we're on version 2. I envision it going on for a while. We're going to keep working on it to be a $5,000 product, but it's not $5,000. I just want to show you a few people that have jumped in there, have some things to say about me. I'm not going to read everything here. Jennifer's happy with purchasing information from me. And I've got, she's bought multiple products from me. You can go and go to the next one. A few more here. I do like this last one. So easy to understand and follow. That's very important to me, that it's not confusing, and that there's different kind of touch points that help you reinforce what's important. And so that you can follow along, even if you're not like the biggest genius in the world. And it's not so much about, like, oh, can you do this if you're stupid, so much as, is it communicated in a way, the things that are important, in a way that you can understand quickly and efficiently. So one more, let's see, go ahead and go to the next one. Okay, so there is an optional add-on It's fly on the wall add-on. So I want to be clear, in the core non-add-on, so this is an OTO right here, but in the core product, you get every technique, every concept, every idea that I have that is directly relevant to the client SEO business model. In this, what you get is you get to be a fly on the wall in some specific business situations. And there's the first two bullets are really, I think, where most of the value is at. And it's that there's a niche SEO, what I'm calling a ride along series. So the new agency that we're building, you get to follow along with us. We give you all the updates. And when we sell it, probably something I'm guessing like 2 to 3 to 5 years from now, you'll get all the details as much as we can legally share. You know, we'll share all of that with you, and you can follow us along as we go on that journey and see exactly how we do even the most basic things. We'll share kind of over the shoulder type things. Another thing that I've done, and I was talking to somebody else today, and he's saying nobody does this. And so this is really helpful. The second bullet for if you're struggling making sales, or you think you can do better, and a lot of the problems can be in kind of your tonality and how you speak to when a client asks a specific question, the way in which you respond matters. And so I've provided some clients that have closed at $6,500 a month, $5,000 a month, $4,300 a month, and several more that are real clients. And you get to hear the call recordings, and then the full kind of like sales discussion, which involves a call, usually like a call and a couple emails, maybe 1 to 2 calls and 1 to 5 emails. And so you get kind of that whole sales experience, and you can see exactly how I responded and exactly how I closed the deal. I think that's super, super valuable. And it's not just inbound, it's also outbound. So I want to be clear that like I've made a lot of my money with inbound leads, dials this week, ranking for SEO related terms, getting people to come to my website and contact me. I think when you put them two together, they amplify each other. And so we have outbound sales calls as well. And so you get to kind of see exactly how we phrase that, exactly how we close. And there's a little bit extra in here with some extra sales videos, actual real sales videos for specific niches. So if you have like a specific niche that you're looking to sell right now, then you can have an example of me trying to sell to them and talk to them in the course right there that you can watch, and you can kind of use that as a guide. Okay, final slide. So what's it going to cost you? So it's $697 one time, or $267 3 payments, and then or to do the optional add-on, it's an additional 1111. So that's 4 ones, $1,111. I like to have fun with numbers in case you can't tell. And it's or 417 times 3, an additional payment. I want to point out one more thing. Here's the link, supremacy.digital/hood. You can go there right now, and it should work for you. I want to point out one more thing before we go to questions. This is a 1-year money-back guarantee. I can understand why, like, especially with like software, you can give a pretty short money-back guarantee. But if someone's claiming to teach you a whole business model from soup to nuts, you think you're going to be able to know in 14 days or 30 days if that business model really is going to be able to work for you? I would say probably not. And so I want to give a full 1-year money back guarantee. And I want to also point out like how serious I'm about this. I'm so confident that you will not be unhappy with this, and that that this will work for you, and you'll get a lot of value out of it. That even if, like, let's say you ask me 6 months from now for your money back, and if Todd, I've already paid Todd, I'm not going to take that money from him. I'm actually going to eat that. So that's actually going to cost me money to have you ask for that money back. But I'm so confident that, and we get very low refunds on this. So I think that you'll find a lot of value in here. But I'm very serious about it, about really providing real value to you. Did you want to go to the sales page, supremacy.digital/hood?
I did, and here it is. This is what it looks like.
So there's actually some screenshots. Let's check the questions now, unless Todd wants to jump in and make some comments or anything like that. This is probably the good time, and I'm going to go in and try to answer some questions.
Yeah, and we can just answer those questions live. So also one thing on here is for the multiple pay option, what you would want to do is go ahead and click on the button, and then this video here will kind of walk through. It's like 1 to 2 minutes of showing you what's going on as far as the process for the upsell and everything like that. But if you click on it again, you'll have the option of being able to select either the single payment or the multiple payment. So just being able to go through there and click through there just so everybody knows. I am see some of the questions. Some of them are specific to the training. So you want to start answering those questions as well right now, David?
Yeah, sure. I'm going through right now. Dorn says, David, plug into your computer, LOL. Yeah. I don't normally have these issues. Just that, wife sliding the computer. I think it's causing the power supply isn't too hot, working too great right now. Let's see. Let me go in. SEO has many components, Larry says. I'm not sure if Larry, if you want to clarify or elaborate on that question. Yes, there's going to be a replay as far as I can tell. Grant asks if there's going to be a replay. Okay, back to business size. Maybe you can give parameters like annual earnings if one chiropractor could be a good client. So
sure. Yeah, let me touch on that one real quick here, David. Okay. So whenever you have a single practitioner, they need to be able to earn a certain amount of money to afford your services. And I'm not saying that your services are going to be cheap. So this is the first thing that I want to do is I'm not talking about $300 a month SEO services. We're talking about something you're going to charge, $1,000 to to $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month for or more. So the standard that I like to look for in a business, the sweet spot that we found is somewhere if their earnings are between $1 and $20 million, that's a pretty good sweet spot. If they're doing more marketing online, then you can go down to maybe about $500,000 mark. But if they are earning less than $500,000 a year, even $500 a month is going to be a stretch for them because they have all these other business expenses. It's not like a digital agency where your expenses can be very minimal. So they have a lot of stuff that they have to deal with. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that you can find some of the lower volume businesses maybe that are actually very profitable, but even then I think that you want to look at like $1 million per year in annual revenue is going to be what I would probably shoot for if I was going to filter out businesses. Okay, so Howard asks, and I really want to answer this one. This is a really good question. Is an SEO a hard sell? Takes a while to get results. Clients will leave once they're ranked. Has less value with Google taking over so much of the page one, question mark. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I think that there's some truth to saying that SEO is hard to sell, but usually my experience is that I don't consider myself to be like a super salesperson, and hopefully you would agree with me on that. And when it comes to my selling, I actually kind of sell without selling. I just kind of talk about SEO, give them some value, and then ask for money. It's really the simplified way of going about it, and it works really well. And in the course, I give kind of my checklist for how I do that. Now, it is a big sale, and so if you're having trouble building trust, it's going to be really hard to make that sale. So I think what it is that some people, maybe through no fault of their own, and I was in this situation at one point, have not built enough trust or enough signals to indicate that they're competent or that this is something that will really help the business, that to the point to where they're not meeting a certain threshold. And so as a result, the client, there's no sale there. But trust me, I mean, $6,500 a month, $5,000 a month, $4,300 a month, these were not super hard sales. I'm not going to say that it was just like somebody just wrote me a check called me up and wrote me a check 5 minutes later. That's not really how it works. There is a little bit of a process there, but I don't think it's any harder of a sale. I've tried to sell low dollar products and services, and I've tried to sell high end products and services. And when you do the high ends with kind of a good plan, I don't think it's like incredibly harder as a whole.
And the other side too, Howard, is I'm going to take a different look at the word hard sell and kind of looking at it as like a boiler room type of situation where you're like sell, 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 sell. And that's not what we do. Even when we're doing our outbound calls, it's all about building trust in the company, building trust in the process. And then so by the time you get down to making the offer, it's the way that I like to look at it. It's not a matter of if if they're going to buy from you, it's how much they're going to spend. And then for you, it's a matter of, do I even want to work with this person, right? So you build value, and you have value in that entire conversation. And even if nothing else transpires monetarily, both of you should be walking away with value being exchanged there.
Yeah.
So
I think you go into it, your quick tip here, you go into it with a consultative mindset where you're going to add value right out of the gate to their business. You're going to help them understand. You're going to be a human being. You're going to talk to them like a friend right out of the gate. And then at some point, you basically say, look, if you want to keep going, I need you to pay me if you want me to keep adding value to your business. That's a really simple model. It's kind of the model of this webinar. We're trying to add value. Hopefully you've gotten value. And then at this point, if you want a lot more, then you need to spend some money, invest in it, and put your money where your mouth is. So Larry says, a cold call for SEO, yikes. Yeah, so you're not making the cold calls for the most part, and eventually you won't be making any of the cold calls. You have people that kind of warm it up for you, and there's different ways to be warm, but also there's inbound systems that we've got, and specifically this is how I've made over $2 million in SEO with people contacting me and asking me to help them with their SEO. And then when you put them together, they actually amplify each other. So,
yeah, so when you look at it, Larry, it's all about kind of where you are in your business. So if you're just starting out and you want to be able to go out there and get clients right away, and then you're probably going to want to pick up the phone and call, especially right now where you can't go out there, shake hands and meet people and stuff like that. If you're to the point where you want to scale your business, doing content marketing and SEO for your business is good, but it takes a while to kick in. So if you're looking for things, we have both sides of it. We have the outbound stuff that you do, whether it's direct mail or phone calls or emails, and then we also have the inbound stuff. So whatever flavor suits you, you'll be able to go ahead and optimize and go and attack that.
Yeah, exactly. And I recommend both, but you can start with one or the other, and we've been successful with both. Okay, so how do you ensure, Mike G asks, how do you ensure the agency stands out from hordes of others? Prospects are tired of being solicited by SEO salespeople, not to mention being screwed over in the past. Thoughts? Okay, so this is a really good question. I like this question a lot. Okay, so first of all, here's one really super big way that you stand out: by narrowing your niche focus. You're contacting a plumber and you're telling them, we only service plumbers and we only do SEO for plumbers. How many companies out there are that narrowly focused, or electricians or roofers or plastic surgeons or whatever? That's going to already put you in an us versus them category. It's going to put you much more on the us side. On top of that, it's going to enable you to talk their language better, and that's going to further put you in that category. Yeah, and it's kind of the way, it's the way in which you and your team approach them. You can do differently than most other people. You have a different cold calling system. You don't cold call. You don't be cheesy. You just try to call and offer help. Ask them if they're open to discussing how you can help them, and see where it goes from there. And also, the part of the system is there's someone getting those calls warmed up for you, right? So you're not actually doing the cold calling. Maybe you want to do a little bit just to see what it's like. You're not going to die from it. It's very rare that people actually like curse you out and are like, why are you calling me? You just be respectful and treat them like a human being, but also approach with hey, I think I can help you build your business, and do you want to talk about it? I mean, that's really not, your brain is lying to you. Basically, our brains are wired for 100,000 years ago, when if you asked a girl out and she told you no, like the whole village knew about, and you were ostracized and you didn't procreate. So like our brains are default to that, when now it's obviously not accurate. So your brain is telling you that you're going to ask for this money, or you're going to offend this person, and it's going to hurt you because they're part of your village, but you're never going to hear from these people again, right? So there's nothing hurting you, right?
So let me put some perspective on that as well, Mike, is that, last year, my agency did over 50,000 cold calls last year, right? And we called into several different niches as we were exploring which niche we actually wanted to focus in on and all that kind of stuff. In that time, I got maybe 2 complaints where people were mad that we were calling them. people aren't mad that you're calling them for SEO. They're mad because you're not providing value to them, right? They're upset because they have been burned and they're putting you immediately in that box with all the other people that are out there, all those other companies, those lame companies that are out there. And so we focus on differentiation, things that make us different from all those other guys. So first of all, if you look at the other SEO companies that are out there, what are they doing that you're not doing? Or can you do something that they're not doing? Most of them, only the bigger agencies, like a GoDaddy, for example, and I don't even consider GoDaddy an agency, are going to be going out there and actually soliciting people over the phone. A web.com is going to be doing that as well. The Reach Local is going to be doing that. Most of those are venture-backed companies, so they have huge floors of sales team. What they don't have is somebody who's real on the other end of the phone, who actually understands their business, who isn't just putting them as another number in their business. And so the differentiation that you do by providing a niche service and the fact that you only work with so many people provides a lot of play for you. At the end of the day, the business owner is looking for somebody he can trust to make sure things get done. And if you show them that that's you, you're going to be able to get the sale every single time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Let's see. So, all right, let me move on here. Speaking gigs are great. Yep, you give yourself a lot of authority, multiple streams of income and paying it forward. That's exactly correct, Dorn. Jim Rohn is the best. I agree. Barton. You guys do standard local SEO or GMB or both? Okay, so to me, local SEO and GMBs are critical to local SEO, and local SEO is all part of maps. There's actually a whole, Michael, you want to scroll down to module 9?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've gotten a lot of really good feedback, even from people who, you can click the little button, yeah. On this module, scroll down to the screenshot. This is a huge focus for me. I do a lot of home services stuff, and ranking in Google Maps is absolutely critical. It is the VIP line. It makes so much more money than the normal non-maps organic SEO. And so this has been a huge focus of mine. I have a lot of test GMBs. We've got hundreds of test GMBs that I test different maps SEO techniques on it. And what I present to you is what has worked for me the best out of best. And I'm testing 2 techniques right now. I've got a few more in the queue that I will be adding soon to be testing, and you guys will be able to hear the results. So I'm not sure what you mean by standard local SEO or GMB, but Maps SEO is huge. Google likes where it's at. They get to make more ad revenue when people stay on the map, so they like that. This is not going away. Maybe it'll change a little bit, but I feel like if anything, it's going to take up more space, and it takes up more space now than it did many years ago. So critical part of it. Love the question. Dorn asked, do you have any sales training? Yeah. If you want to fold this up, basically, so there's 9 core modules. Modules 2 through 5 are all sales. Actually, it's 2 through 6. So 2, 3, and 4 are outbound sales focused. 5 and 6 are inbound sales. So there's a lot of sales training. There's not much point in being the best at SEO if you don't have any projects to work on it. So sales is a huge focus. And then the rest is as SEO. Let's see. Is this for someone who doesn't have an agency at all and is starting from zero? Jessica asks. Jessica, great question. Yeah, I think this can work for someone experienced because there's just so many pieces in here that I think are unique. I'm really proud of module 1, module 7, module 9 that I think those are all really excellent modules and worth the course by itself. And so I think that this helps you build with a foundation that's strong. Also, I know of a lot of people who've been doing agencies for a long time who come in and they make some tweaks and they adjust where they're at. They take the experiences they've learned and put it into this model that we recommend and with the structure that we recommend, and they have a lot of success with that. So they're much happier and they're more profitable and they're scalable faster.
Yeah, I would definitely say if you are if you know how to do SEO and you're at least competent in doing that and have a basic understanding of it, then you can take what you have here and build a business that you can sell. or be sellable, I should say, on the agency side, because it really takes you through everything A to Z on what you would need to do for sure.
Yeah,
So
and
I think that ties into the next question too about being a
I
training.
do show all my SEO techniques. So it
Mhm.
is, Trev asks, do you have training for complete newbie? Yeah, I have one or two videos and some documentation. If you're completely new to SEO, what I would recommend you do. And I think what I recommend in there is not, I've never seen anybody else recommend what I recommend in terms of how to get yourself to be, you and your business to be excellent at SEO as fast as possible. And it's not, I don't think it's what you would think it would be. And I also try to approach most of the things in here with an idea of you not knowing what's going on, or like try to address sort of the why. I do have more experienced people in the course, and then I do have some complete new people. And so if you are new, then I'm happy to have you in there, and I will help usher you along. And there are some paths that I've made just for you. How is this different than the advanced sales training and Serp Scout, Barton asks? Okay, so there is a tiny bit of overlap content, but there's some, they're very unique. So Serp Scout sales training is specific to Serp Scout, and it is not, it doesn't have my SEO techniques. It has a kind of a narrowly focused sales process. It doesn't have everything that I've ever learned. I still think it's a great value and you can get a lot out of it. There's a lot of unique things in it, and it's made to enable you to use Serp Scout to maximum benefit to sell. This is more comprehensive, basically, and this is my whole business model right here.
Yeah, and the training in Serp Scout is specifically the training revolving around what you can actually use Serp Scout for. So we use some other tools that are outside of Serp Scout, even though that's a great tool. We have those. You know, some of them are free, some of them are paid. So we're showing you a couple different ways that you can get different results for it. So that's
yeah,
fun.
you can easily come in and use Serp Scout, replace the Serp Scout. The reason like when we built these systems, Serp Scout didn't exist. So I'm still working on integrating Serp Scout, and there's a very good chance that some Serp Scout content will actually show up in there. It's just that a lot of the people that come in here haven't had Serp Scout yet, and so I try not to. But it's very different. There's a ton more content in here. There's a Facebook group. There's process documentation. There's a lot more in here that just isn't in Serp Scout, as good as I think Serp Scout is. Okay, so Jessica asks, does an SEO agency include rank and rent and pay-per-call or doing SEO for specific business? Okay, so rank and rent and pay-per-call, or lead gen, as I would call it, that is not this model. There are a lot of things in here that, if that is your model, that you'll get out of the course. In terms of, like, I think my systems and my SEO and my maps SEO, and even like the sales stuff is going to be helpful for you getting those kind of clients. But it's not really the point of this. That isn't how I've made most of my money. The vast majority of my money I've made over the since 2012 is through client SEO. And so I try to talk, I do lead gen, and it works really well, and it's a nice revenue stream for me, but long term, it hasn't made nearly as much money. And even right now, I make more money with client. And so that's not really the focus of this model here. So SEO, Larry says, SEO components on page, citations, PBN, lots of stuff, just like if I did GMB plus rep plus video marketing components for DM. He's left, so I'm not really sure what he's asking there. But I'll move on, and if you, or if Larry, you want to ask me, feel free to send me a message or jump back on, and I'll do the best I can to answer it. Are there case studies for a new business that can be shared as proof of traffic increase? Okay, so no, I do not like have any specific things where I can say, hey, you can say that you're these companies. But I do cover how I think you can get these case studies really, really quickly. And you should. And I talk about it in the course in a couple different places on how to go about doing that, to prove that you can do what you say you can do. Because that's a really important, that's a great question, Brenda. And because that's a really important thing to do and set up. Even just to talk about a case study. I don't ever recommend that you be dishonest and present yourself as someone you're not to a client, because I think that long term that comes back to, that backfires on you, and it's unethical. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Michael?
I said, well, Brenda, a couple of things, you know, in the sales module specifically, is I actually spent a lot of time on there about going through and building trust without actually having the need for a case study in there. And you do that through your process of documentation. You do that through the jargon that you speak with them. So there's lots of ways that you can actually build trust where a case study or proof that you do what you do is actually not necessary.
And if you do have it, it's bonus.
It becomes more powerful. It's like super bonus, right? But if you don't have it, you don't need it.
Right. Yeah, there's ways to build that trust. It's basically just like, how do I build trust? That's kind of what ultimately what your question comes down to. Okay, let's see here. So how much of your success resulted from good cold email campaigns? Zero. Mike G asks with follow-up, 0. I'm testing it, but I'd say roughly 0. Probably 0.000 from cold email campaigns. I won't claim to have been successful with that. I know other people who have. That's not how I've made my money.
We have Thomas over here. I think we skipped one here that was asking for a few good industries that work well for us. So we spent a lot of time in home service and the home service niche, and it's funny, but like David and I both came onto the same niche independently of each other months apart. And so when we got together and actually partnered on this, we both had selected the same niche for a couple different reasons. But anything in the home services is going to be really well. I also think that also the legal field is not going anywhere. So those are two broad niches that have lots of sub niches that you can go into.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. People are still pooping in their toilets, so they still need plumbers. People are still getting divorced, I guess. People are still getting into accidents. Maybe car accident lawyers are not the best right now. They're still spending money, I promise you that. But long term, they're great. But that's why I like home services, because people are in their homes even more now. They're still needing electricians. They're still needing roofers. They're still needing all that stuff. I think plumbers are a great niche, but they're targeted a lot. There's tons of other home services, and we talk about it in the course. Michael, if you want to unfold module 1, and scroll down to the screenshot, there's a niche selection video, and I kind of allude to it in multiple videos, and then when I arrive at that point, I'm like, okay, this is how you this is how I think you should go about picking your niche. And so I go into a lot of details there. Okay, let's move on. I did miss that. I just kind of, my brain scrolling down. I'm interested. I am a $500,000 a year agency, but looking for ways to create a scalable processes and outsource as much as I can. Will you address these, Thomas? Okay, Michael, if you'll go to module, so actually let's stay on this module real quick here. Sorry. And then we'll go to module 7. So I think for you, Thomas, I think that this is going to be really, really valuable, and you're going to get a lot out of it really quickly. And the reason I say that is that kind of my specialty is systems and understanding the systems costs and the full implications of doing things one way versus another. And I've been doing the client SEO for a very long time, and I think I've extracted out a lot of the principles of what really makes a business scalable, systematizable, highly profitable. And so this core principles video and the overview of this and strategy are gonna, this whole module is gonna be really useful to you, I think, and you can consume it in probably an hour or roughly an hour. So let's go to module 7. So recently, about 6 months ago, I completely redesigned all of my service systems, and I share with you in this exactly how I go about doing it. And if I ever change systems, I'll show you that. And it's not just about like you have to do your systems exactly like me to be streamlined. It's more about understanding why I'm doing it, because maybe other systems maybe you've already got several other systems that you just kind of have some things that are set up wrong because you're not sure exactly how to set it up right, and that this will tell you how to do that. It's more that you have a system that's good and that isn't leaky and that catches the things that need to be caught. And I think I help you find that. So I do talk about outsourcing as well. The way I set this up, it's actually very, very easy for me to outsource. Finding and hiring people is not a problem, but I don't normally need to do that because I have a ton of long-term contractors who've worked for me for years, but I've hired hundreds of people. Brenda asks, does this work with Serp Scout as an extension to Scale? Yeah, Serp Scout is, so it's a way for finding potential qualified clients. And we present some different options in there. Serp Scout's a great way to go about doing that. I definitely recommend it. It's a way to find information and just kind of research potential clients. Let's see. Mike asks, do you recommend how the ideal agency? I see you talk about ranking your agency site. Do you provide what the ideal site should look like, what it should include, should not include? Actually, yeah, this is really, I'm really glad you asked this. Mike, Michael, if you could go to module 5, I believe. So I talk about basically exactly all the things that I did to rank Dallas SEO Geek. But it's not just about the ranking. There's plenty of people that have come to me and they've been like, my site is ranking and driving traffic, but I'm not getting clients. So there's some specific things that I do on terms of, and actually there's some videos here that are not shown in the screenshot. My designer cut it off, of turning your site visitors into qualified, hot, excited leads. And it's not quite what you'd think. There's more to it than you would initially think, but it's not complicated either. So this is a really important thing for me because it's how I've made a lot of my money. It doesn't, if you get a bunch of traffic, but it doesn't turn into money, what's the point? And so really understanding how to go about that, you'd be surprised at how little traffic I get. I know people who get way more traffic than me and make way less money. So this is a good question. Thanks, Brenda. A question, Jimmy asks, I got on late. Can you do a quick recap, please? The recap would be narrow your focus to increase your power. You narrow your focus by focusing on a single niche, a single service. In my case, I would recommend SEO, the most profitable. And then focusing on building your systems and your process documentation and trying to be aggressive about building a sales system, specifically an outbound sales system at a minimum. Virginia asked, will this go over how to build out an the implanting team, not the cold calling sales team, the implanting team? I don't know what the implanting team means. If you're talking about the inbound sales team or the SEO team. Yes, this talks about, I think you're asking about what I'd call the SEO service team. Yes, this talks about that. This talks about the whole business. So what are all the roles that you'd have in the business? There's actually a company roles in module 1. And so that helps you understand, okay, these are all the pieces that you need, and it lays the whole roadmap out for you. And then also how to set up the systems so that they actually are able to service.
Yeah, and we really talk about roles in here. And so initially when you're smaller, you're going to have maybe one person that's going to do multiple roles, and you might even be taking multiple roles yourself. But as you grow your agency, then those roles will be done by an individual person. So don't look at what we're telling you and how to break it down and the team wise as an individual person, but more as a role and responsibility that that person is going to be in charge of.
Yep, I think that hits the nail on the head. So yeah, she did ask about SEO team. Shlomo says, thanks for the webinar, it was awesome. I must go off right now, but we'll think about your course. Okay, great. I believe it's until it ends Monday. So you know, you have some time to think about it, ask some questions. I sense some Michael Gerber influence.
Yeah, so Dorn, just Dorn. Just a quick story here. Right after I sold my agency, I went out to Dallas, and I had the opportunity to meet Michael Gerber. So I actually have several copies of his book sitting on my shelf, big influence on what actually got me to make the decision to restructure my company to actually be able to sell it. And so, yeah, there's a big influence there.
Yeah, so if you're wondering what they're talking about, there's a really great book called The E-Myth Revisited that Michael Gerber wrote, and I've read it as well. And it lays out sort of like how to structure a business and what kind of like the trap that a lot of kind of what he calls technicians, which I think is actually a really great word, and I use in my business as well. So I definitely recommend you check that out. Good idea. There's like a few books that I think would really have an influence. I'd say it's that, and then there's The Trusted Advisor by David Meister. It's like spelled like master with an I, and right after the A. That one is also really good. I would also give that one to all of my salespeople. I think that's a good way to get them to kind of understand like the perspective of how to be trusted by somebody. But if you want to simplify it, I can give you a simple, just try to talk to people like people. Like don't be overhypey, but also don't be low energy. You need to have high energy, you need to be excited. And but if you're approaching someone with, just like I'm approaching you guys, I think I can help you. I think I have unique experiences, unique things to say that you can't find elsewhere, that can help you build your business and that are worth far more than what you're paying. And that's where there's a win-win scenario here. So that's the way I would look at it. Well, I think we're out of questions. I don't know if Todd wants to jump back on or if there's any final words. Michael, can you go back to the presentation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's stay on the last slide here real quick. I just want to point out real quick. So the payment plan, as Michael pointed out, you want to click on the button and then it'll take you to like a 1 to 2 minute video on like how my shopping cart works. I wanted to offer people payment plans, but it's kind of like awkward to put in so that everybody you can pay with 3 payment plans with one or the other of the core or the FTW, the fly on the wall. And so it's a little bit awkward, but once you watch the video, it should make sense to you. So it's not like there's a separate buy button initially. If you go through it, you'll find it there. And here's a link, supremacy.digital/hood again. Feel free to PM me or Michael on Facebook or through email if you have any further questions. And we'll...
Yeah, right on, man. I'm here, guys. I've been sitting here being mesmerized by all the goodness that you guys are showing off here today. That membership area is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, there's so much content in there. And I really like how you guys are really, sales training focused and how to really go out and approach these clients and how to talk to them and inbound and outbound and all the various ways. And, that's kind of one of the things that I was talking about whenever I, shot out the emails to get people to attend and interested in this is that, the biggest thing, I've been doing this for a long time, guys, as you all know. I'm primarily in, the software development side of things. I don't really have like a real agency anymore. I do some consulting from time to time, but I tend to focus on, the software and how to generate, potential clients. And, sales training is definitely not one of my strong suits by any means. I haven't really done that kind of thing in many years. But these guys have put together, what I see, is a training program, straight from the horse's mouth, if you will. These guys are already running successful digital marketing agencies that can scale to sale. And that's important. I can develop software all day long that can go out and, I'm specifically talking about Search Scout, right? A lot of you guys on here are members of Search Scout and have seen that and seen what that tool can do. And it can definitely go out there and find you businesses that are in need of some sort of digital marketing service or problem that they have that you can solve. But we always run into the same thing every single time, and that is, how do I get them? How do I close them? How do I contact them? What do I say? How do I get them to write me a check? And that's always what prevents most great people in my world from growing and scaling and making a big pile of money, is that you've got to get those businesses closed and you've got to get those checks coming in, and then you can expand and grow from there. And from what I see and from what I know from these two guys, I mean, it just doesn't come from two better people, in my opinion, at this day and time. I know a lot of people out there, in this world that sell various training products and sales products, and a lot of them are pretty good, don't get me wrong. a lot of those guys too, they have focuses in other areas as well. So they're not just primarily 1000% focused on building and growing their agencies like these guys are. And that's the main reason why I was so excited to bring these two guys on here. They're not two guys that are building, lots of different products and services, every 6 months. I mean, this is just what these guys do. And they've been gracious enough to put together all of their understandings and put it together in a membership site, and allow each and every one of you to get it, come in and check it out. And I guarantee you're going to learn a lot. There's no doubt about it. I've already learned a lot. I learned a lot just from hanging out and talking with David from time to time about the things that he's doing. And for the price, oh my gosh, for the price, this is an absolute steal from the amount of knowledge that you're actually going to gain. I've seen $5,000 programs out there that won't give you half the amount of experience and techniques and processes and all that stuff that these guys just showed you in there. And if you go in there, if you get signed up and go check it out, I mean, look at the price of that, guys. I mean, seriously, that is a phenomenal value for that price. And you're going to learn a lot, and all you have to do then is basically put it into action. Go out there and get it done, take the training that they're going to provide, and get it done. So and thanks for all of the great questions. One of the things that I always notice about, I've done, as you guys know, I've done, gosh, a webinar a week for feels like my entire life. And so I sit through a lot of these, and I see the interactions, and I see what's being said, and I see everything. And and I always know when we're hitting a nerve, or we're hitting some good points, or the stuff is valuable. It's from the questions, and it's from the amount of intelligent questions that I see. And today just blew me away. I mean, the amount of engagement and the amount of questions, and you guys did a great job of going through almost each and every one of them and answering them in total detail. And I thought that was great as well. Nothing got left out. And if something did get left out, you've got about 10 minutes left here before we close this down. So go ahead and get your question in. If you have anything else that you want to ask these guys while I have them here on live. So that's really all I wanted to say. I think that this is great stuff. And the price is absolutely phenomenal for the amount of information that you're going to receive, and the amount of education that you're going to get on how to exactly go out and scale your agency. Even if you're just starting out, and you're 100% in on making your agency a reality and helping local businesses get more traffic. You're going to need this, especially if you don't know how to do it. This is a course for you. This one will teach you how to go out there and get it done. Because these guys, yeah, absolutely. Because this is exactly what's worked for these guys in building.
Yeah, this isn't based upon an article I read. This is based upon real experiences that I've been doing. Client SEO has been the core of my business since 2012.
Exactly, and learning from someone who's actually, built an agency and sold it for millions of dollars. Well, that's pretty damn hot. I mean, my experience comes from selling $1 million business because, I built a badass piece of software and then scaled it from there, and I brought in leads, and I had people bringing me in leads, and then I had to do some sales calls and get some banks on board, and then eventually, they're spending $30,000 a week, with me on leads, and it just grows and grows and grows from there. And I basically just winged it back then. I mean, back in 2000, there was none of this type of really information. It was the wild, wild west, and you just kind of had to figure it out all on your own. So it did take me 5 years to build that up, and then eventually sell it for a good amount. But I had no training. I just winged it and made it up as I went. But in today's day, we've got people like Michael and David here that are willing to give you the exact how-to and exactly how they've done it and how they continue to do it today, each and every day. That's what I think is important about this. And that's why I think it's amazing. And that's why I was so excited to, finally get this out to you guys. Me and David have been talking about this for, gosh, I don't even know, January, November, December. I can't remember when he first started. I believe it was December or November of last year that we were talking about this and some of the stuff. And then that's when I got David involved with Search Scout. After him showing me, a lot more of what's going on in his business and how he's doing things, I became extremely impressed. And I was like, hey, man, how would you like to get on board with this new product I have coming out down the road in a few months called Search Scout? And, I need a solid, some sales training, some sales material to go in the back end of that to help people, close some deals. And David was my absolute choice for that. And it's some of you that are Search Scout members who got the elite training with David. I know it was a little bit of an upsell, but that's because, David should be, rewarded for the value and the content that he's delivering. No one works for free, right? We all have, kids and, mouths to feed. So no one works for free. And David done a phenomenal job there inside of Search Scout. I know a lot of you have already been exposed to some of that. So you can already see sort of the quality and the mindset that David brings. And then coming, fast forward to today, whenever, like I said, we did the Search Scout, and then I told him, I said, well, when this new product that you have is ready to go in June, I'm there. Because just from what I know, from what I've seen, and then I was introduced to Michael, and I started learning more about him and learning about his story, which is just absolutely amazing as well. I can totally relate. We're sort of around the same age of time in the internet marketing space and all that kind of stuff, and building.
Are you calling Michael old?
I call him as
How
old
dare
as
you, sir?
It's all right. It's all right. Hey, Todd,
I'm probably the oldest.
Yeah, you got me by a couple years. It sounds like.
I want to answer a few more questions here. We have a few more questions that I want to make sure we get to.
Sure. Before you do that, David, just to put this into perspective, I spent over 20 years now in the online marketing space, and all that time I have done SEO, and I have never released a course on what I've done, right? And in that time, I've built and sold, an agency, going through the process again. The biggest thing is the things that I was using 20 years ago, whether it was for SEO or for my business, they're not in this course. What's in the course is what I'm doing now, making money right now.
Yeah, this is not some theory. We're not teaching you the stuff that we stopped using and that we don't need anymore. This is actually what we want to do. That's not how I want to ever run my business. I actually want to provide value. I want to give you guys something. But I also have to feed my family. I have to be able to invest time and energy into it that doesn't take away from my family. So a few more questions I really want to get to. There's kind of three. I'm going to read all three questions because I think they're all related. So Chris asks, what's the difference between the core and the FTW? And he also asks, do you have to buy the core before you can get the link to the FTW? So, and then Jimmy asks, can you recap the offer? I'm going to try to do all these in once. So the difference between the core and the FTW. So the core, Michael, if you can go to slide 23. So the core is the intent there is to give you all the training, all the concepts, all the ideas, all the strategies, along with a support group and some process documentation to build a sellable and scalable SEO agency business. All right. But, and with the FTW, so go to slide 27. This is an optional add-on that's only available to people who buy the core. And because it wouldn't make sense to people, I wouldn't feel right giving this to people independent of the core course. And this is an add-on, and this is like the idea here is you're a fly on the wall. You're listening in to me. You have a bug in my office, and you're hearing me close a $6,500 a month client, or a $5,000 a month, or a $4,300 a month, or whatever. There's several more client on the phone. You can actually hear me talk. Okay. This is, and you can watch, and we can get all the details of exactly what we do and why we do it with a specific scenario of building an agency from scratch, and to all the decisions that we make. And so if you have any questions on that, okay. And so it is an add-on that is a lot of people call it an OTO. To me, it's just more of like it's an optional thing that you can get. And so hopefully that kind of recaps the offer. There's a lot in it. And I actually, I've heard recommendations not to put too much stuff in your course. And I think that's a good recommendation. I think one way that I try to put as much in there as possible is to make the lessons, most of them pretty short and sweet and to the point, and then also try to make it really well organized so that you can find things conceptually and you can go through it in an order. I'm really, really big on the process documentation. Check out the screenshots for that. I think they're in the bonus section of the sales page near below the little foldable modules. It's one of the bonuses. And I think that's a really great way to get yourself started, or to, if you're having trouble with your systems, to get them back online and to make it take less time for you to implement what we're offering here for you. Hopefully that helps. Chris and Jimmy, if you're still here and you want to ask some more, feel free to ask away. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I think we're over 2 minutes. I don't know if Todd, I do need to get moving as well here in a second.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes past the hour. We're not 2 hours. Try to keep these to 2 hours, but
Okay.
like David said earlier, if you guys got any more questions, hey, he's a very friendly guy and he's on Facebook. You can message him up. Michael's there as well if you've got any more questions about what this program is actually about. But I really think that we've covered it. We've covered it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told you guys, basically what these guys are up to, what their experience is, what they're doing, and how they've documented everything. And I'll go back to the opening where, I was selling my company back at the end of 2003, and I got handled. Because I didn't have all the proper documentation in place. I really didn't. All I did, I was just telling, like, I do this and I do that, and they were all kind of calling bullshit, But luckily, the owner stepped in and overrode everybody else, and just he liked me. He liked me. I don't know exactly why, but he liked me, and we got to close the deal. But if it wasn't for that owner who had a compassionate heart towards me for some reason, I would not have gotten the deal because I did not have my ducks in a row. And that's one thing that Michael, has been talking about, and why he was able to sell his business so easily, and get more money and more value because he had everything documented in place. And you should be doing that too. I made the mistake and did not. Almost cost me a couple $1 million. So take that for what it's worth. I think this is a great program for anybody that's looking to actually build, scale, and sell their agency, and I give it my highest recommendation. I trust these guys, to the core. So hopefully you guys, if you're interested, can jump on in there. And once again, David, thanks so much for coming on here and doing this. Michael, thanks so much for you as well. Thanks for all the great content. And we'll definitely be talking to you guys in the future, and hopefully, we'll bring you back on. Maybe we'll do some more surprise webinars. We can get you guys back on here in the near future and just provide some more value to all these great people we have out there. All right, guys. Well, everyone have a great rest of your evening and enjoy the weekend. And this offer will be open until next Monday, and then we're going to close it down. It's going to be officially closed down for now, and it's going to stay that way for the foreseeable future, while David and Michael handle all of the influx of new people that comes along with that. There's obviously support, so this is something that's just going to stay open forever. This is done.
It won't be open until next year.
Right. Yeah. So get in now and start taking action. That's the best advice I can give you. And again, thanks everyone. Thanks Michael. Thanks David. And y'all have a great evening. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Todd.